In December 1945, a mysterious event marked the beginning of the Bermuda Triangle's eerie reputation. 5 torpedo bombers belonging to Flight 19, a training squadron of the U.S. Navy, took off from the Naval Air Station in Florida for a routine training mission over the waters of the Bahamas. However, not long after departure, the pilots began reporting malfunctioning compasses, disorientation, and increasingly unusual weather conditions. Radio communications between the pilots and the control tower gradually became chaotic and eventually ceased altogether. The 5 aircraft, along with all 14 crew members, vanished without a trace and never returned. Even more unsettling, a seaplane sent on a rescue mission also disappeared without explanation, raising the total number of missing personnel to 27. This strange disappearance quickly drew public and media attention, giving rise to countless sensational theories. Flight 19 became the first iconic symbol of the unexplained mysteries surrounding the Bermuda Triangle, setting the stage for decades of speculation and intrigue about what really lies within this infamous region of the Atlantic. The Bermuda Triangle is a vast area of approximately 500,000 square miles in the Atlantic Ocean, defined by 3 points: Puerto Rico, the island of Bermuda, and the state of Florida, USA. This region has long been infamous for a series of mysterious disappearances involving ships and aircraft traveling through its waters. These incidents often occur suddenly without warning, leaving no trace, no distress signals, no wreckage, and no survivors. Numerous theories have been proposed to explain these baffling events, ranging from unusual weather patterns, strong ocean currents, and magnetic anomalies to more speculative ideas such as alien abductions or the existence of a parallel dimension. However, to this day, there has been no official or universally accepted scientific explanation for the strange phenomena reported in the area. It is precisely this combination of strangeness, lack of concrete evidence, and unsolved mysteries that has cemented the Bermuda Triangle's place as one of the most enduring enigmas of the modern world. The region continues to captivate researchers, adventurers, and supernatural enthusiasts alike, fueling the legend of a devouring zone in the heart of the ocean. Back to the Flight 19 incident. On December 5, 1945, 5 TBM Avenger torpedo bombers of Flight 19 took off from the U.S. Naval Air Station in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. This was a routine training mission for the U.S. Navy, simulating a bombing run over the Bahamas before returning to base along a predetermined flight path. The entire mission was expected to last approximately 2 to 3 hours. The flight was led by Lieutenant Charles C. Taylor, a seasoned pilot with over 2,500 flight hours and years of military service. Accompanying him were 4 student pilots, each with more than 300 hours of flight time. All aircraft had been thoroughly inspected and refueled to ensure the mission could be completed without incident. However, there was one notable issue. None of the planes were equipped with clocks, an essential tool for time-based navigation, which was required for this exercise. Initially, the mission proceeded smoothly. After completing the mock bombing run at Hens and Chicken Shoals, the squadron began the return leg of the journey. At approximately 3:40 p.m. on December 5, 1945, Flight 19 encountered its first signs of trouble. While en route back from the training area, crew members reported feeling disoriented and unable to recognize familiar landmarks below. A growing sense of tension emerged as the flight crew began to realize they might be lost. Lieutenant Taylor delivered a troubling message. Both of his compasses had failed. With no working navigational instruments, he was forced to rely on his instincts and experience. Taylor believed they had veered off course and were flying over the Florida Keys, a chain of islands to the south of mainland Florida, but he wasn't certain of their exact location. Lacking clocks to track flight time only worsened the situation, making it nearly impossible to estimate how far they had flown or where they were. Radio communication between the squadron and ground control also began to deteriorate. Transmissions became garbled and intermittent, making it difficult to relay or receive clear instructions. Meanwhile, the weather conditions began to worsen. Dark clouds rolled in, visibility dropped, and the squadron flew at an altitude of about 4,000 feet above a thick layer of cloud cover. These conditions made visual navigation even more challenging. One of the students, Ensign Edward Bossy, suggested an alternative. Instead of continuing along the uncertain course Taylor insisted on, he proposed changing direction in hopes of finding land. However, Taylor rejected the idea. Though unsure of their location, he remained confident in his judgment and insisted the squadron maintain the current heading. This decision would later become one of the most debated aspects of the incident, with many investigators speculating that a course correction at that point might have saved them. In the final hours of the ill-fated flight on December 5, 1945, communication between Flight 19 and ground control became increasingly fragile and sporadic. Although the control center advised switching to a stronger radio frequency to improve transmission clarity, Lieutenant Charles Taylor, the squadron's commanding officer, refused. This decision severely hindered the exchange of vital information, especially in an emergency where the entire flight formation was disoriented and lost in the skies. Throughout the ordeal, Taylor repeatedly changed the squadron's heading in hopes of recognizing a familiar landmark to determine their location. However, despite these course adjustments, they were unable to pinpoint where they were. As dusk settled in, the weather continued to worsen and visibility dropped drastically due to thick cloud cover, making navigation even more difficult. At approximately 5:15 p.m., Taylor made a pivotal decision. Over the radio, he announced that the flight would head west, hoping that direction would lead them back toward the Florida coastline. He stated they would continue flying until they either reached land or ran out of fuel. It was a desperate gamble, as their true location remained unknown. Time passed and fuel on the aircrafts began to dwindle. Despite their own significant flight experience, the student pilots had no choice but to follow Taylor's orders. Surrounded by darkness and the vast, empty ocean, tension mounted as hope of returning home began to fade. At 6:20 p.m., the last known transmission from Lieutenant Taylor was received. In a voice laced with both resolve and desperation, he declared, "When the first plane drops below 10 gallons of fuel, we'll all go down together." That was the final message from Flight 19. Afterward, only silence remained. No further distress calls were heard. No emergency warnings were issued. The 5 planes, along with their 14 crew members, vanished into the night sky, leaving behind no trace. Following the disappearance of Flight 19, a massive search operation was launched immediately. Over the course of 5 days, more than 930 flights were conducted, involving numerous aircraft and naval ships. Despite the scale and urgency of the mission, all efforts proved fruitless. No trace of Flight 19 was ever found. No wreckage, no aircraft, and no bodies. The vast expanse of the Bermuda Triangle turned the search into an impossible task, leaving the public stunned by the mysterious vanishing. As hopes of finding any clue began to fade, the situation took an even more alarming turn. A PBM Mariner rescue aircraft, deployed to join the operation, also disappeared while on its mission. The seaplane was carrying 13 crew members and was believed to be performing an aerial sweep when all communication with it ceased. By late afternoon, no distress signals had been received from the Mariner. All further search efforts for the rescue plane were equally unsuccessful, raising the total number of missing personnel to 27. Later theories suggested that the PBM Mariner may have exploded mid-air, possibly due to a fuel leak that led to a fire and catastrophic failure. However, no definitive evidence has ever confirmed the exact cause of the seaplane's disappearance. The loss of a rescue aircraft while searching for another lost flight only deepened the mystery surrounding the Bermuda Triangle. It fueled speculation about the existence of a dead zone in the ocean and captured the imagination of the public and researchers alike, turning the incident into one of the most baffling and chilling enigmas in modern aviation history. After concluding the investigation into the disappearance of Flight 19, the U.S. Navy issued an official report stating that the most likely cause was a navigational error by Lieutenant Charles Taylor, the squadron's commanding officer. Specifically, Taylor was believed to have misjudged his current position and made incorrect navigational decisions, causing the entire squadron to veer off course and become lost over the Atlantic Ocean. With no clear sense of direction and inadequate navigation equipment, they are thought to have flown until running out of fuel and ultimately crashing into the sea. However, not everyone agreed with this conclusion. Several alternative theories have been proposed to explain the strange disappearance. One of the more common theories involves magnetic interference, something that could have caused the aircraft's compasses to malfunction. The Bermuda Triangle has long been rumored to exhibit unusual magnetic activity, which could disrupt navigational instruments. If both of Taylor's compasses truly failed at the same time, it's plausible the squadron unknowingly strayed far off course. Another factor is the weather. Although conditions were initially clear, reports later indicated that the weather deteriorated in the afternoon, possibly hindering visibility and making it more difficult for the pilots to recognize landmarks. Furthermore, the squadron relied on a navigation method known as dead reckoning, which requires accurate estimation of speed, direction, and flight time. This method demands high precision, yet most of the crew were trainees with limited real-world experience. Without timepieces on board, calculating flight time became even more challenging, making navigation more error-prone. Beyond technical and scientific explanations, more mysterious theories have also circulated. Some believe that Flight 19 was abducted by UFOs or transported through a space-time portal to another dimension, speculations fueled by the eerie reputation of the Bermuda Triangle. However, these ideas remain purely speculative, with no concrete evidence to support them. The mysterious disappearance of Flight 19 played a crucial role in fueling the legend of the Bermuda Triangle. While the region had already gained a reputation for strange occurrences, it was the vanishing of 5 aircraft at once, without leaving behind a single trace, that truly captured the public's imagination and brought widespread media attention. From that point on, the Bermuda Triangle became known as a deadly zone, where ships and aircraft could vanish without explanation. The incident quickly became a topic for books, films, documentaries, and investigative programs. Over the decades, the mystery of Flight 19 has remained unsolved, with no definitive evidence ever emerging to explain what happened that fateful afternoon over the Atlantic. The most widely accepted theory among experts is that Flight 19 became lost due to a navigational error, primarily attributed to squadron leader Charles Taylor. Believing he was flying over the Florida Keys, Taylor led the group in the wrong direction, unintentionally guiding them farther out into the Atlantic Ocean. With no accurate navigation instruments and running low on fuel, the squadron likely attempted a forced landing at sea, a move that, in rough waters and poor weather, would have offered little chance of survival. The case serves as a haunting reminder of the dangers of early aviation, when navigational equipment was limited and prone to failure. It also underscores the unforgiving nature of the ocean, a vast, unpredictable force where even a single mistake can prove fatal. 80 years have passed, yet the fate of Flight 19 remains one of the most chilling and enduring mysteries in the history of aviation and maritime exploration.